Hey, everybody. Well, we're live, and as usual, Joint Powers Authority has not started its meeting. It's supposed to start at this time. And while I'm doing that, let me see here. Put this over there. A second. Okay. I am trying to set this up so that the tags are correct. Sports, good. Okay, so that's sports. That's good. So add tag Oakland Coliseum JPA. Oakland Coliseum. All right. Save that. Okay. All right. So, hey, everybody, we're waiting for the JPA meeting to start. I left my cell phone downstairs. I will be right back. Don't know how I did that, but I did. I'll be right back. Got the phone. Okay. Let's see here. Still waiting. It says Zoom. Hold on a second. That means that's a bad sign. That means it started. Hold on a second, folks. Still waiting. Okay, still waiting. Hold on a second, folks. Hey, everybody, waiting for the meeting to start. While we're waiting, I will go over what the JPA agenda should be. I'm actually right now, though, about to send a text. Say, hold on a second. Wrong one. Right one. Okay. Hello. Waiting for JPA meeting to start. I just sent a text waiting for JPA meeting to start to Rebecca Kaplan and to Renee and to David Halber and Nate Miley. That's 4 people. Yeah. So waiting for the meeting to start. Don't know what's going on. Hopefully there is a meeting. I put out the agenda as if there's going to be a meeting, which gets to my next comment regarding what the agenda is supposed to be. And the agenda is, well, it's roll call and then open forum. And then we will have, I thought I was committing this to memory. Maybe I just need to be committed. But, oh yeah, approval of minutes and then the reports. The first one by Henry Gardner, our executive director, third quarter budget report. The second is the status of discussions and documents for Roots and Soul special event license agreement, which should lead to good news. Then the general manager's report, and that's where Nicole Strange comes in representing ASM Global, and presentation of the auditor's report, which should be a lot of fun. Don't know if you had a chance to look through it. I've seen part of it, but and then adjournment. So that's what's going on. There will be occasions where I get up during the event and come back and forth. Don't worry, folks. I'm still here via cell phone. Oh, meeting starts at 9 o'clock. Okay. Thank you. Thank goodness. So the meeting starts at 9 o'clock. Apparently, I didn't read the agenda correctly. That means that I have enough time to go and eat breakfast and come back. So that's precisely what I'm going to do. The meeting starts at 9 o'clock, folks. All right. So I will be back. All right. I'll have phone in hand, but I will be back. Okay. I didn't see that on the agenda. Oh, well. Anyway. Does that mean we're going to have a quorum that's on time? Let alone a full quorum? I hope so. Anyway, I'll be back. That music gets into, you might be wondering what I'm talking about here. This is what I'm talking about. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is the screen. All right. Here is the Zoom webinar. That's what I'm talking about, folks. Okay. All right. So had to make sure I raised my hand early. Everybody. All right. So yeah, what's going on is they have a tendency to play music, and it's really a dirty thing that they do because they're trying to discourage YouTube video capture. So by having this music that they think will be copyright claimed, and at least that's what I think. I'm happy to be wrong, okay? But the bottom line is when I let the music play, later I get these copyright claims that I have to then dispute, which I win all the time. That's not the issue. It's just, a headache, okay? It's kind of like, seriously? Do I have to do this again? And, hello, Max Maverick, who is Matt, who is everybody else. How you doing, okay? Hey, glad you're here. I just want to make a point. Stop. Don't be a pest, because my actions toward you in terms of blocking before because you were being a pest, all right, and I don't appreciate it. And when you're being that guy or that gal, I don't appreciate it. It's not necessary. It's not funny, and it's very immature. If you have an idea, right? Okay, so or something you want to say, do it the old-fashioned way. Call me. My number's right there. All you have to do is call. Okay, but this not using your real name, not saying things, making the same point again and again and again, yada yada yada, when it's not appropriate to make it because of the topic of the video, all that stuff. No. All right, that's not right. You wouldn't like it if I did that with you. Okay, enough of that. Okay. The big issue I have today is last fall, the JPA passed the resolution to create the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Joint Powers Authority Advisory Board. Advisory board of 8 people. We are now into May and it has not been established. Okay. Why? They're not going to answer my question on open forum, of course. But we have to get away from the JPA being this plaything of politicians, which it has been, and toward the JPA as a true professional organization. That's the objective. Like other places in the country, other places have sports commissions and stadium authorities and government oversight committees and that sort of thing. Why not? Why not? But here we go. This is May. And voila, it's still not on the agenda. Now, for those of you who say, hey, there's Henry, what does that have to do with the Oakland roots? Everything. Because absent a formal professional organization, who is going to pay attention to the property when it needs additional monies to deal with floods and other unforeseen circumstances? Floods are not an unforeseen one, but from my perspective, but in terms of how they plan the facility, it is. That's not going to go away. I don't care about what anyone says about this. The simple fact of the matter is, we have a situation where waters have risen. Everything else. There's our board coming in. I believe it's Jenkins. That is John Beam, legendary once Skyline coach, now Laney College athletic director. And I was just texted by Rebecca Kaplan, see you soon. And I said, looking forward to it. And I am looking forward to it. All right. So there's a yellow placard over someone's mic. I don't know what that's about at all. Be interesting. Okay. So where else? Here comes Dave Howard, Alameda County Supervisor. No, that's not Dave at all. Wait a minute, who is that? That looks like John Beam. Well, who was the other guy? Don't recognize that fellow. All right. Whoever it is, it looks like maybe they're taking the place of Kevin Jenkins. Maybe that's it. Something, because that seat, that yellow card is normally where Kevin Jenkins sits. Is Jenkins still involved? Hey. Is Council Member Jenkins still involved? Just asking. I believe that's Aaron Roseman, who is on the address system, calling speakers, calling the names, and so on, right? That silver-haired head you saw is the council representative, excuse me, the legal representative representing Alameda County, and the JPA, but on behalf of the county. We're missing Nate Miley. We're missing Rebecca Kaplan. We have John Beam. We have Henry Gardner. We're missing Dave Halbert. That's 3. So I think I saw 4 and 5 in the room. Yeah. So if they all come together, we'll have a quorum. We're waiting. It's 8:54. 6 minutes to the top of the hour. And hello. Oh, I thought I wrote back something. I didn't. Wait a second. Let me do this. Hello. Okay. Let me go back to Zoom. And I don't know what that says. Well, that'll be interesting conversation if it comes up. All right. Let me go through some of the board package. It's 58 pages. If you haven't downloaded, I highly suggest you do. It has the minutes from last meeting, but then also it has the report that will be issued today with the added events, Then there's the financial statements, and I'm looking through those right now. And let me see if that music is still going. Hold on a second. I don't want to miss anything here. Auto settings. Yeah, they're still playing that stupid music. All right. All right. Still got that music going. There's nobody in the room. All right. As I was saying, let me go back now and take a look at the auditor report that I saw. And let me get to the cut to the chase. We have audited the financial statements. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material aspects the respective financial position of the government activities. Okay, these are their basis for opinions and so on. I'm scrolling down to the opinions. Financial highlights. All right. The assets and deferred outflows of resources of the authority exceeded its liabilities and deferred inflows of resources at the close of this fiscal year by 66,769,993. Of this amount, 729,530 represents assets associated with long-term debt that are subject to external restrictions as to how they may be used. 47,326,446 represents net investment in capital assets, and 18,740,960 represents unrestricted net position. As of June 30th, in other words, they're in good shape. As of June 30th, 2023, the authority's governmental funds report fund balances of 38,648,430 on an increase of 9,926,511, or 34% from last year. Total fund balances, $8,945,459 is restricted. $1,205,977 is assigned, and $28,496,994 is unassigned. The total fund balance in the general fund as of June 30th, 2023 for the JPA was $29,226,524, or 319.1% of the general fund's total expenditure of $9,158,760. So what that means is that they've taken a lot, spent out a little, and in general are good shape. Okay, here we go with folks coming in here. Let me see if there's any change here in audio. No music. Yay. Wait a minute. Yes, there is. Oh, shoot. Barbra Streisand. Sorry, folks. Barbra Streisand. Not sorry. I'm not sorry it's Barbra Streisand. I'm sorry that, I can't play Barbra Streisand for copyright reasons. So be it. I got just 3 seconds. All right. So when Henry sits down, and Rebecca's here. So we're waiting for Nate, which I didn't get a text from. And I believe the woman in the chair who's going back and forth is sitting in Kevin Jenkins' chair, if I'm not mistaken. I did ask. I said, hey, is Councilor Jenkins still involved? It's wonderful music, but whatever. Okay. Although I do love that song. So it's the laughter we will remember. Anyway, Rebecca's wearing her yarmulke. We have more people coming in. And looking for... I haven't seen George Rucassen Jr. in a while. I hope he's okay. That's him. That must be him. Nope. No, that's an engineer. The guy's working on something. It's another engineer. So John Beam is talking to... That lady must represent Kevin Jenkins. I would say that's it. And so that's... Looks like David Howard. You see here. Let's see here. Or is that Buchanan Sr.? Trying to find out. Okay. Henry sat down. Let me go and adjust the volume and see where we're at. If I hear Barbara Streisand, I know where we're at. Okay. Nope. Who selected this soundtrack? Probably Rebecca. Zoom user. Someone said something. Wait a minute. I missed that.
Great music.
Oh. Someone said great music. I think the music sucks. I'm sorry, man. I don't want all this. You know what I mean? Come on. Like I said, folks, we need to worry less about music and more about accomplishment, more about process. So Rebecca sat down. The yellow chair is for Nate, presumably.
We are getting ready to get our meeting started. We're making sure we've got all of our Zoom people properly connected and with their sound working. So appreciate everyone who's working here, both those in front of the scenes and those working behind the scenes to ensure that all of the devices are working. And I believe we have one board member grabbing glasses. And so we should be able to start momentarily. And we have at least one board member on Zoom, so we can take this moment just to test that and make sure. Commissioner Halbert, let's see if we can unmute him and confirm that you can hear us and that we can hear you, so you can participate online.
I can hear you, yes.
And we can hear you.
Hear me?
Okay, so confirming we do have Commissioner Halbert with us on the Zoom, and his remote attendance is noticed on the agenda. So that should mean that he counts for quorum. So thank you, Commissioner Halbert. We appreciate you doing that. And now we just need Commissioner Beam, I believe.
I thought that was him sitting there. I thought he walked in. Maybe he went to the little boys' room. Waiting for John Beam.
Excellent. Okay. Quorum is here. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Nate, there he is.
Oh, what happened to Jenkins?
Yeah, where's Kevin Jenkins?
I think they know me.
Where's Kevin Jenkins? Councilman Jenkins.
Waiting for you.
Councilman Jenkins does not take this seriously.
Are we missing
folks.
Jenkins' nameplate? Thank you. All right. Thank you all so much. Appreciate you all being here. Noting colleagues present, we have a quorum both in the room and we have Commissioner Hubbard on Zoom. And so we may call the meeting formally to order. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Good morning. Welcome to the meeting, the special meeting of the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Authority, Friday, May 17th at 9:10 a.m. If members of the public would like to speak on items, when the time to address the items on the agenda is announced, you'll be prompted to raise your hand so that we may see the number of speakers in the queue. We will note the last name in the container before we take comments. The host will call the identifiers of each raised hand one by one to allow comment. Please do not raise your hand before the invitation to speak. The host will lower the hands of those who raise their hands before the invitation. All members of the public at the time of the announcement will have the opportunity to comment on items on the agenda. Members of the public will also have the opportunity to comment on items not on the agenda during open forum. As I move to roll call, please respond present when your name is called.
Okay.
Commissioner Halbert.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Iglesias.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Jenkins.
Present. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Commissioner Thompson.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Fukasan is excused. Vice Chair Miley.
Here.
Thank you. And Chair Kaplan.
Present.
That is 6 present. Next item on the agenda.
Thank you all so much. Really appreciate everyone being here this morning for this, our 9 a.m. special meeting, in the hopes that that time is a little easier for folks. So thank you all for joining us for this. It is much appreciated. And also really want to thank the whole team here who, even when we are not here having meetings, is doing the incredible work to bring in the activity and keep everything going. So thank you for that. We have, thank you, sir. Actually, let me just pause in the introduction so that we can note for the record the presence of Commissioner Beam is in fact here.
With glasses.
With glasses.
So noted. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for being here, for being a part of this. So I have received 2 requests to move items up. I've received a request from one of the commissioners to move up the discussion of Routes 2025, and I've received a request from staff to move up the Auditor's Presentation, since both of those have people who have time needs on them. So why don't we go to item 5-2 and then to item 6, and then we'll go back and go through the rest of the items so that we can accommodate those requests.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is report 5-2.
Thank you so much. In terms of Roots and Soul, thank you, colleagues. I know we voted unanimously at our last meeting to authorize the team to enter into a special event agreement for Roots and Soul to be here for 2025, the largest and fastest growing sport in the world, which is soccer. And this also is on the year prior to California and other parts of America welcoming the World Cup, which will also create increased interest in soccer. And so we wanted to have an opportunity to just hear how that process is going and when we expect it to be completed, just as we work to make sure to bring that alive and make sure to keep this facility alive and generating jobs and revenue. Mr. Gardner, I know you've been working very, very hard on this topic.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be brief. You asked when we think that the draft agreement will be presented to Roots. Pastor Jackie will appreciate this statement. Soon, and very soon. I have to tell you in all candor, we are exhausted. This has taken far, far, far more of our time, energy, creativity to get to this point. The standard special event license agreement had to be virtually rewritten and had to go through numerous iterations involving our entire team. And I want to publicly acknowledge the work of our joint JPA council, Andrea Weddle and Jamila Jefferson. They have gone way beyond the call of duty to get us to this point. This was not a simple process. So with that, Council Weddle informed me this morning that she expects to be able to send the agreement, the draft agreement that we have finalized at this point, to Roots, I think by the end of the day. There are two parts to this, which further complicated it. As I have shared with the chair and with some of you since we've been working on this, one of the biggest issue was who is going to install this field and who is going to maintain it. And the more we got into the requirements for the installation of the field and saw what USL requires, we decided that we were not willing to take on that responsibility. And therefore, the installation belongs to Roots. The detailed specifications were enough to give us pause. And so we decided that Roots, you do the installation and we will maintain the field. That became further complicated because they need adequate time to install the field for the grass to grow, mature, and be ready for play. That is not a 6-week process. They asked for about 4 months, so we had to work that out. Clearly, they couldn't start that process until the A's have completed their season. And so we have reached agreement on that. There were a number of operational issues that had to be addressed. We had to work and rework. We're there, finally. The right of entry agreement, a separate agreement, had to be constructed because Roots needs to have access to the field before the season starts, obviously. We had to then figure out what events we might have after the A's leave. We considered that. We think that there is little opportunity, so we had to be comfortable that we're not giving up opportunities for additional revenues because you need every dime you can find. With that, I'll be happy to respond to any questions you have.
Thank you so much, and I really want to appreciate the amazing work that has gone into this. I hear that the plan is to send that to them today, and so that is really good news because obviously we want them to be able to start selling tickets, which brings in revenue, and we also want to make sure that we have that commitment nailed down so that we can plan around it in terms of staff and activities and also other activities, colleagues, because once this facility is set up for soccer, that alignment then allows us to attract other activities, including football, including other soccer games and things of that nature. So great work all around. Are there any public speakers on this item? And I'll also go to my colleagues. I just wanted to check so I can have a time check.
So all public speakers wishing to speak on this item, please raise your hand. There's one participant in the queue with the hand raised.
Okay, Commissioner Beam?
Yeah, Henry and staff, this field that we're putting in, that the Roots will put in, how will it affect other events that we do here? Because obviously I've been involved with Roots and field problems. So once the field goes into their specification, how does it affect other things that we may, other renters, concerts, other events in here? How does that work? I know, Chairman, you talked about the other sports, football, whatever. Is that going to be compatible? Who takes care of it? Is our staffing available to take care of it once it's put in, to put it back to the soccer specifications?
Thank you, Commissioner Bean. That was a subject of considerable discussion and consideration. We, on average, probably have 4 or 5 events in the stadium on the field during the course of the year. We have built into our draft agreement that there will be certain blackout days so that we have not precluded potential opportunities to have other events. That's not perfect, obviously. If there are other activities on the field, we would assume responsibility for restoring the field to playable use. That then required a lot of consideration and analysis, again, because at that point, we would be holding the responsibility to restore it to playable use. We do not expect to have the kind of activities, in fact, we know that we're not going to have them because we would have received notice about that right now, for the kinds of activities that would really tear up the grass, monster trucks and motocross and those kinds of activities. Those are not going to occur. So in all probability, the events that are likely to occur will be concerts, and that will have minimal impact on the field. And we have a high degree of confidence that we would be able to make the restoration so that it meets the playable standards.
So we went with the A's, you have 84 dates. Soul and Roots are looking at 34 dates.
Possibly more than that.
Or up to 60, right?
Right.
So there's still dates that would be more available, but if we're limited because of the field usage, how are we going to be able to pay the bills in essence, right? And then on the flat fee, is that to cover the expense of whatever it takes to open up the Coliseum for that day? So everything that entailed, that's the minimum of the flat fee for the event?
Yes, the way this is structured, the flat fee is expected to cover the cost. We have built into this formula that, well, let me back up. We have not had experience with Roots being in the stadium. And so what we built into the formula is some protection for ourselves, that we have to meet a certain threshold before we would share any net revenues with them. This is speculative. And one of the things we had to balance is at the end of the day, and you still have a choice. I mean, you can vote at any time to not proceed. We think that what we have structured provides us with reasonable protection. There are no guarantees. Well, I keep saying, well, actually there are 2. But neither applies in this case.
Well, and I think to Commissioner Beam's question about how this compares to the deal with the A's, with the A's deal, the A's kept all the revenue from parking. They kept the revenue from food and beverage. Under this, we get the revenue from the parking, et cetera. And so while we don't know exactly how many people will come and how many people will park, there are other revenue streams that this new structure will allow us that we did not receive from the A's. And then in terms of other events, just to be clear, we don't yet have an agendized proposal, but we've been reached out to by a football group that would take a set of dates, not for the 2024 fall, but for 2025. So after the field was settled, was installed, that we could have football. And there's also potential for other people's soccer games to come here once it's set up for soccer beyond Roots and Soul Soccer. So that's...
Yeah, I'm sorry, Commissioner Beam, I missed the second part of your question regarding the A's, and the chair has responded. One of the things I learned in this process is that the conversion from soccer to football is not as complicated as the conversion from soccer to baseball. And I had reversed that in my earlier understanding of that. The A's took up, that's kind of pejorative, I didn't mean that. The A's use the stadium 81 days out of the year. And so even with up to 60, and we don't know that there will be 60, there may not be more than 60 because of the special event license agreement. They first asked for 34. We said, well, if there's an opportunity, perhaps we can accommodate more. But in any event, we will not be anywhere near the 81, which gives us more opportunity, maybe, to attract a few events in the stadium. As I said before, we average about maybe 4 or 5 stadium events, maybe a little bit more than that. We would like to have a lot more because that's where the net revenues actually come from. But we're in competition with other venues in our market area. And there are not that many of these events that come our way. So it's more like 5 events. We would hope for more, but we think that that can be accommodated. Again, there are no guarantees.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Coach Beam, for bringing your experience with this to us. It's super helpful. Any other questions from my colleagues before we go to the public speaker? Okay, let's take the public speaker.
A public speaker with the last name of Abraham. You have 1 minute to speak.
Yeah, thank you very much. My question basically is very simple. Is what will be built by the Roots, on behalf of the Roots, quake safe? We've never had a discussion. I can
Public
hear
speaker,
you.
Abraham.
I can hear you, yes. I can hear you.
Good morning, Zenny. Can you unmute yourself?
Let's see. I thought I...
Is he unmuted from our end?
Am I unmuted now? Does that work now? Okay, yeah, I did that twice. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Unmuted.
Okay, I did it twice. So hello?
Zenny?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. I did it twice.
Can we turn that up?
Can we go to the next speaker?
I really want this auditor to do her.
Okay, are there any other speakers on this item?
No.
There are no other speakers.
No, there's me.
With their hands raised for this
Okay,
item.
we will go to the auditor, and Zenny, if you can check your audio, we're not hearing you, but we will call on you again after the next presenter to give you another opportunity. Thank you all. No vote is needed on this item. So we'll say thank you and much appreciation, and you can call in item 6.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know if our treasurer and the county auditor is on, or the controller.
I believe
treasurer
Director
auditor is
Roseman
Melissa Wilk. If she or Craig Boyer would like to introduce the outside auditor.
we need to let Director Roseman read in item 6.
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Item 6 on the agenda, presentation, auditor's presentation of
I
financial
pressed
statements.
twice on mute.
Okay, can the auditor team raise your hand so Director Roseman can see you on the Zoom?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Melissa Wilk, the Alameda County Auditor, Controller, Clerk, Recorder, and I'd like to introduce our independent auditor. Many of you may remember Annie Louie. She is a partner at Macias, Ginny, and O'Connell. She's here to discuss the audit of the fiscal year 2022-23 financial statements of the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Authority. Annie has over 20 years of providing assurance and advisory services to the public sector, and her clients include some of the largest municipal government entities in the country. I want to thank Annie for her time today, and I'm going to turn it over to Annie in just a second, but I do want to recognize and acknowledge my staff, especially Craig Boyer, our Assistant Controller, for all of his hard work and that of his staff for ensuring that the accounting and financial reports of the JPA are completed and issued timely and accurately. Welcome, Annie, and thank you again for being here with us today.
Thank you, Melissa. Good morning. My name is Annie Louie from MGO. I'm the external audit partner for the Coliseum's external audit for fiscal year 23. I did present a short presentation today. If I may have ability to share a screen, I would like to do so, if that's okay.
Okay, do we have screen share enabled?
Just a moment. The share screen function should be available to you now.
Okay, I would note that it appears we've made Annie the host, which means when you are done presenting, she's going to have to make you back the host. Otherwise, if she hangs up, the meeting's going to close.
That is correct. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Did not want that.
Okay, your presentation is now showing on the screen. Thank you.
Great, perfect. Thank you again. So let me walk you guys through this short presentation. Is a high-level summary of the report that are included in the reporting packet, in the board packet. So going over the audit scope and the results, we were engaged to do financial statement audits, and we issued an unmodified opinion. And as many of you already know, an unmodified opinion is the highest level of assurance you can achieve under any financial statement audit. So this is good. We also issued a government auditing standards report because the audit was done under government auditing standards, and this covers any deficiencies in internal controls of a financial reporting that we may have noted in the course of the audit. And I'm happy to report that we did not have any instances of non-compliance or deficiencies to report. And then also in the packet is a report to the board commissioners, and this is our direct report to you about information that we've noted during the audits. Just to remind you about our auditor's responsibilities, we were engaged to provide an opinion on the financial statements themselves, and we conducted our audit in under AICP standards as well as government auditing standards. In process of doing the audit, if we do know any internal controls issues and whatnot, we would report that directly to you, if not report to the board of commissioners. But we are not engaged to opine on internal controls themselves. This is a pretty long list. This is a list of management's responsibilities, and this is detailed in the engagement letter that were executed at the beginning of the audit. And basically, it goes over management's responsibilities in preparing the financial statements, in establishing proper internal controls and oversight of the audit process. The audit committee, if you can look to the bottom of this here, we look to the board as the oversight body to provide guidance and to oversee that proper internal controls established and followed, as well as controls over the detection of fraud in relation to financial reporting. In terms of required communications, this section is an overview or a summary of what is included in the report to the board. In terms of significant accounting policies and practices, there were a good number of standards, new standards that were implemented, but there were no significant impact to the authority's financial statements. As you can see, all the items, we don't have any matters to report. These are standard items that we as auditors have a responsibility to report to you if there were any unusual or insignificant transactions relating to those different areas. In terms of the last item here, the required supplemental information, there are information that are required under generally accepted accounting standards to be included in the financial statements, but they are not reported. And one common example is the FD&A, the management discussion and analysis that provides a negative overview of activities during the year. In terms of accounting estimates, as you know, the financial statements does require estimates to be prepared and included in the financial statements. This is a list of the more significant ones. No new items this year. These are pretty standard items as I have presented on in the past. We perform a series of different types of audit procedures, and we determined that the estimates are considered reasonable in relation to the financial statements as a whole. And then lastly, I'd just like to end with accounting updates that are going, or that may affect the authority's financial statements in the current as well as the upcoming year. There are 4 that are currently outstanding. Compensated absences may have an impact. The other ones probably won't have such a significant impact on the authority's financial statements. But I do want to note that we are expecting GASB 103 to be issued any day now. I have not checked this morning yet, but it is a previous standard on a financial remodel, which should have more significant impact to the financial statements. And as it is issued, I'll be working with management to evaluate what that impact might look like. Usually the GASB provides a couple of years before implementation, so we're not going to be looking at implementing a new standard in 24 or 25, but it's probably at least 2 years out. But we want to let you guys know that there is a new one coming, and that one should be significant. And with that, I will end with questions that you may have, and I will stop sharing my details.
Madam Chair, before we receive questions, I want to apologize. I thought that the PowerPoint presentation was going to be printed and available to you. I know this was somewhat difficult to follow. And because of that, I would ask Ms. Wilk if there are any key points in that PowerPoint presentation that were not clear to you, if she can highlight those.
Thank you so much, Minister.
You got the tone, but you didn't get the PowerPoint.
And I would say that while the PowerPoint isn't in the packet, that there are extensive documents in the packet listing both the highlights and the more detailed. So let me just ask the presenter one question. So did you encounter any reportable problems?
No, I didn't.
And I just wanted to ask that one specific question because from the perspective of our obligations and our responsibilities in receiving this report, part of the point of this report is to have an independent audit to confirm whether there's anything problematic, missing, incorrect in our financial documents. So the answer to that question, did you find any reportable problems, is from the point of view of our responsibilities, the most important one.
Key question.
Thank you so much for confirming.
And you did hear that the answer is no.
And the answer was no, there were no reportable
There's no
problems
cooking of the books.
identified.
Is that true, Madam Auditor?
Yes.
That's the key point.
That is
All
true.
transparent.
Well, and also it appears, and if we can get this confirmed, that the amount of available fund balance, unassigned available fund balance, is more than sufficient to cover any expected costs. Which is more of a budgetary question than an audit question.
I'm sorry?
That may be more of a budget question than an audit question.
Yes. But I will respond to it when we get to the budget presentation. Yes.
Because it does appear that the unassigned available fund balance is substantial.
It should be.
As it should be. Okay, we're coming to questions. Commissioner Jenkins.
Yes, through the chair to the executive director. How long have we had this audit, this firm?
I would ask Ms. Wilk to respond to that question if she could hear it. The question is, how long has the MGO been the auditor for this account?
And then the second question to that is, what is our process for selecting firms?
And what is our process for selecting auditors? Ms.
You know,
Wilk?
I don't have the date. I'll ask Craig Boyer potentially to look that up while I'm talking. We have had, believe we've had MGO
Forever.
for probably the past 10 years. We go out for competitive bid every time the contract is up. Unfortunately, the city's probably aware as well that finding external auditors that focus on municipalities and government has been a real challenge over the past many years. So in order to address that, what we've done is we change partners within our audit firms I believe it's every 5 to 7 years as needed. So prior to Annie, we had another partner, David Bullock, and then we've switched to Annie over the past several years.
Thank you. Did you have any further questions, Commissioner Jenkins?
What's the standard amount of time for switching firms?
We usually have a contract that's 3 years with a 2-year extension. So we usually go out every 5 years. But again, the past several times we've gone out, we've gotten few or no other competitive bids. So it's been a real challenge. The number of audit firms that focus on government has really been shrinking since I've been at the auditor's office for the past 20 years. So I'm not sure what the term of this contract is, and we can provide that back to your board.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from board members?
Just a quick comment. So no findings. That's the main thing.
That's the main thing.
That's great. And then what's the date that we try to finish? And are we within that time frame?
Okay, did you hear that? The question was, what is our intended date by which we expect to complete these audits, and was this one completed by the planned date?
Yes, they are due at the end of December, and yes, we met our time frame.
Thanks.
Awesome, thank you. Public speakers, if you're a member of the public wishing to speak on this item, please raise your hand. You can click the Zoom raise hand and we will enable people to talk.
Thank you. For members of the public wishing to speak on this item, please raise your hand.
Hand is raised.
At this moment, I see Speaker Abraham with his hand raised.
All right, let's go ahead.
You're unmuted and you may have 1 minute to speak.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? You hear me?
Yeah, we're having trouble hearing you. Can we turn up the volume on our system?
I pressed the
It's all the way up.
I can hear you button.
I think we can hear him very, very faintly on the Zoom.
You want me to talk louder? Hello? Is that
Yes,
working?
now we hear you. Go ahead.
My Lord. All right. We've done these audits every year, and yet, and I mentioned this several years ago, but I'm going to mention it again. Why don't we get a time series to see how, for example, how our balances have changed, how our debt position has changed, so we can evaluate where we've been and where we're going. Because this sort of snapshot, I mean, it's great to say, oh yeah, there's no problem, but you know, it doesn't give us a picture where we've been, and not only that, a projection of where we can go. And the auditor is capable of doing that. If not, heck, I can do it, or anybody else. I'll grab Kevin Jenkins and I'll show him how to do it. We can do it. But where's that information? You know, I don't see that. And we've gone, this is sort of like a formality rather than a serious study. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other speakers?
There are no other speakers in the queue.
Okay. For those wishing to see some information about change over time, if you go to the audit report in the packet, both on page 7 and then also on page 9, we show the change from 2022 to 2023. I realize the speaker may be suggesting there could be value in looking at more years over time to see trends, which we can discuss through the budget process. But we do have 2023 compared to 2022, and we can see
time series.
The net position at the end of the year is quite good and somewhat improved from the year before. So we have those 2 years to look at in this report, and we will take in the suggestion to at some point to have a time that we look at trends over a broader span of time to identify any trends we may wish to know about. So thank you for that. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Executive Director, Are we to vote on this item so that we
No,
formally
it's
receive the
for-
presentation? Or
It's for you
that's
to
sufficient?
receive.
Okay, so no vote is needed
No
on this
vote.
item. Okay, thank you. And with that, let us then go back up to the prior items on the agenda that we skipped over.
Right? Resuming the original order, that would bring us to item 3, open forum. So for members of the public wishing to speak on items not on the agenda, please raise your hand, and after your name is called, you will have 1 minute to speak. At this time, I see one member of the public with their hand raised for open forum.
Okay,
Mr. Abraham, you are allowed to speak.
Yeah.
You have 1 minute.
Thank you very much. You can hear me. Okay, I can see my name. You can hear me. All right, great. Last fall, the board approved the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Joint Powers Authority Advisory Committee, and yet still hasn't been formed. And this is only the second meeting this year. We need to get to a formal process where we really clean up what we did last fall and set ourselves on a path to the future. I'm concerned, I'm going to say this, I don't care how much people get tired of it. We do too much that's piecemeal. We don't plan. We don't have an organization, a sports commission structure that plans for the future. Who's going to go after sports teams, right? Or regardless of size. Everything is way too political. We've got to build a process and manage ourselves much better than we do. Thank you.
thank you. We can go to the next item.
Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes from March 15th, 2024 and March 8th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions on this item? Seeing none, we may call the roll.
All right, for approval of the minutes from March 8th, 2024 and March 15th, 2024, moved by Commissioner Jenkins, seconded by Commissioner Iglesias. Commissioner Beam, how do you vote?
Approved.
Thank you. Commissioner Hallberg?
Is excused.
Oh, excuse, okay. Commissioner Iglesias?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Jenkins?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Thompson?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Vukasin is excused. Vice Chair Miley?
Yes.
Thank you. And Chair Kaplan?
Yes,
The motion passes.
excellent, thank you.
Next item on the agenda is reports, Executive Director Report, item 1.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're back on the Executive Director's Report, which is in your packet, 5.A. There is an attachment. I asked the Assistant Controller, Craig Boyer, if he could share his screen. That's more for the audience. This chart is in your packet, so the board members are able to follow along as I highlight the items. This is the third quarter budget report. The third quarter ends March 31st, but it takes about another 30 days or so to finalize the numbers. We are at 75% of the budget year. Of course, the budget is from July 1, 2023 to June 30, 2024, and we are projecting that the budget will be balanced, and we have a high degree of confidence that it will be at the end of the fiscal year. If you look at the chart, you will notice that the revenues are budgeted at 28 million with a carryover of 16 million. Those two numbers equal the 41,907 at the very bottom of this chart. So when you add the carryover with the budgeted revenues, of course the budget is balanced. At this point in time, at 75%, we would expect that we would have received approximately $20 million. We have in fact received 26 million. On a straight line basis, that would have only been, again, 20 million. This is due in great part to the fact that all of the major revenues have already been received. There would have been approximately 20 million expected from the city and the county contributions. That is 10 million because you will recall last fiscal year, we had a net surplus and 10 million of that was credited back to the city and the county and went into the fund balance. So we expected the 10 million and the 10 million, 5 million each from the city and the county has now been received. 25-26 will be the last year of payments for the Warriors Arena debt service. To refresh your memory, the Warriors are required to pay the arena debt service until that debt is retired. That went through a very lengthy court battle, and the city and the county and the JPA prevailed all the way up to the California Supreme Court. But that last payment will be made in February 2026, so there'll be no further Warrior payment after that period. The stadium debt will be retired in February 2025. When the financing was first initiated in 1995-96, the bonds were issued first for the stadium. And then the following year, bonds were issued for the arena renovation. So stadium debt is retired first, and then the arena debt 1 year later. The rest of the revenues are within the projected budget for this time of the fiscal year. Our total operating expenditures are projected to be within budget. 13,408,000 was budgeted, and we project that virtually all of that will actually be expended. At 75% of the budget year, 7.6 million has been spent. There may be some carryover, as there has been in the past, because of major projects. Frequently what happens is either these projects are not commenced within the budget year, or they're commenced and the project is not completed, not because of any delays, but just because of the time it takes from start to finish. And so frequently there is carryover into the next fiscal year. But we expect that with the carryover, we'll pretty much come close to the projected expenditures. Administrative expenditures are under budget. I point out each time we talk about this, when you look at administration, I want to remind you that that is not my and Renee's compensation. Yes. 485,000 of that is to pay the unfunded liability of the Empower retirement account. Prior to the establishment of the Joint Powers Authority, the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Incorporated had a defined benefit retirement plan for its then employees. When the Joint Powers Authority was established, the Joint Powers Authority assumed the responsibility and liability for that account. We have been working with the Empower representatives. We believe that we're nearing the end of these payments to bring the plan into being fully funded. We are also looking at alternative ways to deal with this account. And what that means in short, and I'll be coming back in the next couple of months making a proposal, that we very well may put this plan out to bid to qualified insurance companies, and they will then be responsible for the administration of the plan, for the benefits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We did this with the Oakland Municipal Employees Retirement System when we got down to so few retirees that the cost of administration exceeded what it would cost for us to sell the plan to a qualified insurance company. And we are at that point with this plan. Also, one of the things that I am concerned about is that when the Joint Powers Authority, when it's unwound, the question then is who will be responsible for this plan? One way to answer that question is to go through a public bid process and dispose of the plan through that process. And then a qualified insurance company will be responsible for administering it for the benefits until the last person expires. But there will be more about that later. The auditing expenses are under budget. Coliseum operations expenditures are approximately 54% of what we would have projected at this point in time. The management expenses projected to exceed budget, but that is almost an inverse relationship. And that's the reason that's shown in a negative. The more events we bring in, the more that cost is, but then the greater the revenues that are produced. The capital outlay is projected to come within budget. Debt service payments are fixed. There will be those amounts, except for some minor adjustments, interest, and some miscellaneous expenditures. Again, on February 1st, 2025, the debt service on the stadium goes away. And then 1 year later, the debt service on the arena goes away. The question has been raised about the debt service reserve fund. All issuers of municipal debt are required, for private ones too, but for us, required to have a debt service reserve fund. And then the question is, at the end of that period, are you able to use those reserves to make the final payment, or are you required to make the final payment and then there is a true up and the trustee sends what would be equivalent to the debt service payment back to the city and the county? We're exploring that question. In either event, your debt service reserve fund would be sufficient to cover those final payments, which then would result in you're either not having to make the payment or you make it and then the trustee sends you the true up.
And when you say should be sufficient to cover those final payments, are we referring to both for 2025 and for 2026?
Yes, those are separate reserve accounts.
Okay. Awesome.
So, all told,
good news.
The proposed budget is going to be balanced, and at your next meeting, we will present the proposed budget for next fiscal year.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So to clarify, we do not have an action item today,
No.
but at our June meeting, we will have an action item to adopt the budget.
That is correct.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing the good news, both in terms of this year's revenues and expenditures aligning, but also in terms of this long-term issue that there is a debt service reserve fund that will help us out next year and the year after. So that's good news.
I have a question.
Commissioner Bean.
Henry, I have a question for you. The capital outlay,
Yes.
what is that for?
There are a number of capital projects. I would ask Ms. Strange or Mr. Hatch if they can highlight a couple of those. We actually, here at the authority, we describe capital outlay somewhat differently than we describe it at the city and the county in this regard. Some of these are repairs, and we tend to distinguish between those at the city and the county. These are kind of lumped together, but there are some big ticket items in here, and maybe Ms. Strange or Mr. Hatch can highlight a couple of those.
Welcome. Good morning.
Just went blank. What happened there? Well, the audio just went.
Elevators, parking lot repaving, golf carts, forklifts. There's
a bunch of items, and we can share that list with you.
What about, lighting?
Lighting's in there.
Stadium lighting,
That's in there.
those are old ones, right? We're not in LED, correct, at this point?
Correct.
That's part of this as well, this 7 million.
Yes, part of capital.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome, thank you. Glad to hear it. Colleagues, are there any other questions on the budget report? And of course, we'll have the actual budget for adoption in June before us for the next year. Mr. General Executive Director, does that conclude
It does.
your item?
It does.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we can go to 5B.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
I'm first going to start with the added events. TXT, which is tomorrow in the stadium. And Coach Beam, I can walk you over to the stadium after this and show you the actual stage layout and the field covering, so you can get an idea of how we do it here.
Thank you.
Russ, June 2nd. Big 3, June 15th. Badshaw, June 16th. Missy Elliott, July 9th. Woo woo. A Day to Remember, July 12th. A Tease, July 17th. Aventura, July 23rd. Monster Jam in the Arena, August 3rd and 4th. Don Omar, August 7th. Phil Wickham and Brandon Lake, August 23rd. 21 Pilots, August 24th. Future and Metro Boomin, September 4th. NCT Dream, September 14th. Hans Zimmer, October 3rd. Rahat Fateh Ali Khan, October 4th. Grupo Firme, October 13th. Maxwell, October 25th. Ana Gabriel, October 26th. Toby Mack, November 23rd. Martin Lawrence, December 7th. As you can tell from that long list of new show announcements, the ASM Global Oakland team has had a very strong start to 2024. Here are a few of the additional highlights. Last month, we have officially unveiled our Oakland Arena by Oaklandish apparel collection, featuring 2 iconic designs that proudly celebrate Oakland and visually pay tribute to the historic and iconic talent that has performed at the arena. You can learn more about the partnership and see the designs at oaklandish.com. We also proudly played host to the Alameda County Social Services Agency's annual Fair Chance Job and Resource Fair at Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. This impactful event brought together over 80 hiring agencies and 50 resource groups while welcoming thousands of job-seeking professionals to the complex. And lastly, the AEG Oakland Community Foundation hosted a celebration for Read Across America Day where over 1,500 books were donated to Lockwood Elementary students in Hayward. Members of our staff distributed books to the students and shared more about their roles with ASM Global and the importance of literacy. Any questions?
Well, let me start by saying a hearty congratulations and much appreciation. We have an amazing team here, and in recent years, we've been working very hard to bring in additional events and activities, and with incredible success. So thank you so much for all that you and the whole team have been doing to make this happen. Colleagues, any other questions or comments? Commissioner Iglesias.
Yeah, is the Oaklandish stuff available for purchase now, or is
It is.
Oh, it is.
It is. You go on their website.
Okay.
Happened again.
Okay, so go to oaklandish.com and
Oaklandish.com.
where you can get the new designs honoring the arena.
Yep.
As well as Roots and Soul, who will be playing here at the Coliseum. They're also on Oaklandish. Okay. Any other questions, comments on this item? Well, thank you so much for the incredibly diligent work and effective work. And it's not on the agenda today, but I'll just comment for my colleagues so we can think about this for a future meeting, that I do think we should be preparing to undertake a contract extension for AEG/ASM for the incredible work that they do here, and to make sure we don't lose out on any of the future events that are already coming calling. And we'll work together to talk about how to agendize that for a future meeting, since it's not on today's agenda, but I thought worth a comment in the context of the amazing work. So thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any public speakers for item 5?
So for members of the public wishing to speak on this item, please raise your hand. You will have 1 minute to speak after your name is called. We have one public speaker with their hand raised.
All right, called speaker.
I can't hear anything. It froze. Froze again. Problem. There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Outstanding. First of all, Ms. Strange, great presentation. My longtime friend, ASM Global Vice President Doug Thornton, sings your praises. I saw him at the Super Bowl. Second, Mr. Gardner, great presentation. One question. Where is the category for marketing? There's, well, everything else under the sun, but what are we spending for marketing? I know I see some of it because Lauren Carey, by the way, thank you for sending me press releases, sends me press releases on what's happening at the arena. So that's marketing. But what are we spending for marketing? Thank you.
There were 2 comments. One was about how wonderful Nicole Strange is, which I affirm. And then the second question is, within the budget that Director Gardner presented, where does marketing expenditures show in our budget?
Marketing expenditures would be part of the AEG's
Coliseum operations.
operations, right.
Excellent. So the fact that there's not just to clear up.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
I apologize. Just to clear up, the reason there's not a separate line for marketing is not because there are not marketing expenditures happening, but rather because they are embedded within the line that is titled Coliseum operations.
And if there's interest in that, when we do our report, we can pull that out. We can tell you what that is specifically.
Excellent. Thank you. Much appreciated. Okay, that appears to conclude the public speakers. Is that correct?
That is correct. There's
Any other questions or comments from my colleagues? And Mr. Gardner, did you want to add anything else?
No, thank you.
So comments?
Yes.
I'm not sure, I'm the newest person on this commission, so I'm not sure if this is the right place or not. What is our mission? What do we do as a commissioners here, right? And I ask that because when there was negotiations going on with the city and the A's for an extension on the deal to stay or not stay, I didn't see anything in any agenda item for us as commissioners. Or did Henry, were you involved with that? Should we be involved in that? Should we have set aside a time to think about it, be a part of the discussion of, this $97 million price going out, or 1.2 or 1.5 that the A's currently pay? Was that part of our mission here? Is that what we do, or is that not? Is that just between the city and the county and the whoever doing it? I'm not sure what we do, because we've canceled meetings, we haven't had quorums, we've kind of just gone through. This is the second time I've seen a budget since I've been on this commission. But what are we actually charged to do? I know, Nate, you've been here for a long, long time. And this is a great facility, but we're losing tenants, not keeping tenants. Is that part of us? Is that just, what do we do to keep tenants? Are we trying to bring in, like we brought the Roots and the Soul in? You said a Major League Football program has reached out to you. But I haven't heard any of that. So what is our charge, I guess I'm asking.
Sure, and I'll start, and then certainly if Vice Chair Miley or Executive Director Gardner want to add to it, or our council. In terms of the question of why we see the budget, actually adopting the budget is one of our.
Just a reminder that this is because
because of the time change for the meeting, this is a special meeting.
Yes.
So this item is not on the agenda. We would need to agendize it for a future meeting for discussion.
That's fine.
Thank you. And since the one thing one can always talk about is future agenda items, we are talking about a potential future agenda item. And in that potential future agenda item, we could include explaining about the board's responsibility to adopt the budget, and also just in terms of looking at what comes to the agenda when there is an actual proposal from an actual entity to have a license agreement here, that does and would come to this body. And in the mentioned conversations that happened in the press and in the public, there was not actually an actual proposal submitted. But when there is, that would come to this body. And I would anticipate in talking about future scheduling that we can talk about the Major League Football proposal at a future meeting once they provide that to us in a more formal manner.
Perfect.
Awesome. Okay. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you all so much for your time and attention. In terms of June, we know we have to adopt the budget, and we may also be discussing some other potential future events. While everyone is here, or we can also poll later, did want to inquire whether Friday, June 14th is a possibility for the group. And we can also have staff poll to confirm that.
That's fine.
Seeing no objections, but we will have an email go out to make sure that that's the case, and then we can get our budget done well before the statutory deadline and make sure everything is ready to roll. And we'll reconfirm that with everyone. Okay. That appears to be all of our noticed items. Is that correct, Mr. Executive Director? Anything else?
No, Madam Chair, that completes my report and my comments.
Thank you. And thank you to our parliamentarian for helping us stay on track. That being our county council, thank you. Any closing comments from any of my colleagues? With that, thank you all so very much. We are adjourned.
Before you leave, thank you.
Okay, so whatever happened, we didn't hear. We heard part of it. Okay, it was frozen in time, folks. Look at that, frozen in time. And while I have this frozen in time, I want to talk about these two. This is the pastor and then Councilmember Jenkins. Most of the time they sit there, they're on their phones. Then, did you ever hear them engage in an exchange, a conversation? Jenkins only asked about the auditor with the idea that, hey, can we get a black auditor in? I get that. But my point is, the JPA is about more than who does our audits for us. It's about running an organization that houses a number of Oakland's historic sports and events over time. He doesn't get that. So John Beam is making a great statement. Kevin is busy looking down at his phone, and so is the pastor looking down at her phone, rather than actively paying attention to what he's saying or anybody else. Or he looks up, he sits there, he's got his arms folded like this, like, this is Kevin. All right. I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there. Or he's talking to the pastor like this, right? Well, you know what? If you don't want to be there, Councilmember Jenkins, get a replacement. Let somebody else do it. But I'm tired of this thing with District 6 council members of late. Well, in fairness to Lauren Taylor, though, he was more active. But Jenkins acts like he's not interested at all. I'm saying, hey, you ain't interested? Don't be here. Don't waste our time. Don't have us waiting for you. This is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I've been involved in this organization since before it was the JPA. That goes all the way back to when I was Congressman Montclarian and the legendary George Vukasin Sr. was the president of the Coliseum board. And I had an open door to him to talk to him about any column I was working on or idea I had. That's the way it worked. And I didn't abuse that privilege either. At all. Well, maybe the one time that I did was to give him a bottle of Grey Goose because he loved Grey Goose. All right. We have to come to a point where we change. This is only the second time we've met, the second time. And those of you watching this who are concerned about the roots should be concerned that you don't have a line item for your team. There's no line item for the roots. There's no line item for future sports organizations or for marketing or anything else. Henry said it himself, we give it to ASM Global. That's what he said. We give it to ASM Global. So how much is ASM? We have a giant multi-billion-dollar facility and we let a private marketing company handle, or private events company handle the marketing for the Coliseum, which translates into this. ASM Global only handles marketing for events they're responsible for, not for the Coliseum. That's a tragedy, okay? It's nothing against ASM Global. We have to do better. Is ASM Global actually out there selling the Coliseum to potential events rights holders that they don't have a specific contract with? Like, for example, the Bay Area Panthers. They were looking for a home. Scott McKibben told me he heard nothing from the Coliseum in terms of answering the proposal that was sent to them to bring indoor football there. Okay? Now, I'm not concerned about how you feel about indoor football. I'm talking about the business of events, getting events, be they sports or some form of entertainment, getting events in our building so that we can make money from them. That's the idea. Okay? We have never had a hard brass tacks look at what we do. We are behind schedule by a long time. Long time in doing that. All right. I'll let you all go. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Share. See you later. In fact, I'm going to have a special one about these on the whole situation, the roots, how we lost the Ballers, how the Ballers is actually going to impact the future of the Coliseum. Because it will, just by its existence. How we need to have a more expansive look at what we do with sports. Bino, I know you're watching this. You need to call me. It's not right, man. You need to call me. I'll see you. That ends this broadcast. We'll see you.